Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy holiday Monday. Found myself with the day off, so figured I'd do a little video to entertain all of you. When I started this channel, I said one of the things that was going to help drive it was viewer comments and what people actually want to hear about. And I've had quite a few comments and some personal messages about working conditions that are inside the penitentiary. So I've compiled what I consider an unofficial list of the top 5, okay? I could go on and on and on about so many of them, but the top 5 worst conditions that I encountered as the CEO there at TDC. Now, there are 122 prisons that are in Texas. Every single one of these is going to be different, okay? Everyone's experiences is going to be different. This is simply the top 5 that I came up with during my time at the Mark W. Stiles unit. They're ranked in order from least to worst, so let's get into it. Number 1, lack of training outside the academy, okay? You go through a 5-week academy, and it teaches all about policy, procedure, some defensive tactics. You get to do a couple of different unit tours. I went through the Holiday unit, the Estelle unit, the Ellis unit. I saw general population, I saw segregation, all that. Once the academy's done and you get to the unit, you report to an FTO, a field training officer. This individual doesn't take you around and teach you anything. They assign you different locations throughout the facility. The dorms, general population, segregation, mailroom, back gate, picket, tower, and whatever CO happens to be on duty, that's the individual that you're learning from. Now, let's take Joe Schmuckatelli, and he's having the absolute worst day that he could have. Do you really think you're going to get any kind of quality training or anything from him? Absolutely not. None whatsoever. It's bad. And once those, I think it might have been 3 weeks that I went through the OJT. You pick a shift and go. And what you've retained from the academy, what you've learned in your training, that's what you have to go on. And it can be pretty substandard. The whole job is all OJT. And in fact, it can do a lot of individuals a disservice. I believe you can hire on when you're 18 years old. I can promise you, there is nothing an 18-year-old can bring to TDCJ, at least at the Mark Stiles unit where I worked. They're just going to get taken advantage of, manipulated, and walked off the unit. I saw it happen over and over again. So there's number 1, folks. Lack of training outside the academy. Number 2, your coworkers. This was a tough one to rank because you had good coworkers, you had bad coworkers. Just like with any kind of job, there's going to be people that you mesh with, there's going to be people that you don't mesh with. Unfortunately, working at TDCJ, at least at the Stiles unit where I was, there are a lot of individuals that I didn't mesh with. Some, as soon as they see the military haircut, they think, oh God, here he comes. Okay, this guy. And the day just goes downhill from there. I've posted I posted quite a few videos about the fat, nasty, sweaty dude from New York that I had to work with, that stinky-ass Nigerian guy that I couldn't understand. There's some tough individuals to work with. It's probably not as bad coworker-wise in general population, but in SEG, you always had a partner. There were a few times, if you were in Alpha Bravo Charlie dorms, you could work by yourself, but typically we were in a group of 3. 1 in the picket, 2 on the floor. And if you didn't get along with that officer, man, a 12-hour shift could turn into a 24-hour shift. And the absolute worst thing that you could do was to get into it with your partner in front of the inmates, because then they would just do everything that they could to try and make the whole day worse. It was fun for these old freaky nasty dudes. Well, number 2, your coworkers. Number 3, the supervisors. Yes, that's right. Supervisors are supposed to have your back. We're a paramilitary organization. We got sergeants, lieutenants, captains, okay? They're supposed to support the COs and make sure that they have everything that they need to do the job and get by, just so we can get the day-to-day operations going through. Did that happen every day? Fuck no. Did it happen every week? Nope. Every now and again, you'd get some real good support. Now, shout out to Lieutenant Raymond. A lot of people have heard me talk about him. When he came on the pod, man, the day just got instantly better. Everybody knew him. If they didn't like him, they respected him. Nobody threw anything at him. Nobody made anything difficult. I was inspired when Lieutenant Raymond came on. Jones, the guy that wore sergeant chevrons but wasn't a sergeant, Jones, when that fat piece of trash came in there, the room, the pod, it would absolutely erupt. If we were having a bad day, man, that dude would do anything he could just to make it that much worse. He had the absolute worst reputation that you could have as a CO. And I'm pretty sure the only reason that he made his rank was maybe the unit hoping that he wouldn't have to walk the pods anymore. But he still did. He still had to come around, make his checks. And if we were having a bad day when Jones came in, nobody liked that guy. And the pod would just absolutely explode with yelling and hollering and beating and banging. Just, it's kind of like when you're in, God, I can't really compare it to that. Picture yourself in a concert, okay? And there's different bands playing, and this band gets done, and this one comes out, and it's everybody's favorite, and the whole concert hall erupts. That's how it was when Jones came in. But not because they liked him, because they couldn't stand this guy. And, God, slots were getting jacked, stuff getting thrown out the doors. He'd come in with some kind of bullshit write-up for the picket all, just something. I'm sorry, I'm ranting, I'm raving. Just anytime he comes up, I get into it. So supervisors could absolutely 100% definitely ruin the day for it. Number 3, supervisors. Number 4, the noise. Okay. We all know how sound echoes. I don't need to go into a description about that. When you're in an empty room, if you're in a room that, I'm pointing around here like y'all can see, if you're in a room that's surrounded by stuff, it's going to kind of absorb a little bit of the sound as it bounces. Sound hits a wall, it bounces back, it comes back to the inner lobe. If a room's absolutely empty, it's going to be loud in that room. Sound is going to bounce back, it's going to echo, it's just going to get loud. Now, I've already described how, as best I can, without pictures, because there aren't any inside 12 building. These rooms were pretty wide open. There were open bar day rooms, very few walls, and walls that would block anything. And the sound and the noise would just reverberate. Okay, get inside your vehicle, close up all the windows, turn it up about full blast. That's what it could sound like sometime. Now you're saying, Jesse, it's not going to sound like a loud ass radio. Okay, when you sit there for a while, eventually you're not really going to hear the words to the song anymore. You're just going to hear noise and reverberation. This is what it would sound like. The day after gambling day, when they were all yelling at each other and passing scores and who owes who what, there's times you could there's times I would just stop and just lean against the wall, which you weren't supposed to do because it was absolutely nasty. There's times I just lean against the wall and just, God, I wish you motherfuckers would just shut up. As soon as they knew that it was bothering you, here it comes. They make it even worse. They take the cookies that they buy. The cookies were put in that plastic individual slot container. They take that thing and they slam it up against the door. Scrape it up and down on the chicken wire on the door just to make noise. God, it physically, no, it wasn't tiring at all. But mentally, it would just absolutely drain you. I'd get home. She wasn't my wife at the time, but I'd get home, and if she was there, it's like, babe, don't even fucking talk to me. I don't even want to hear your voice. And she'd get on. I hadn't seen you. Stop right now. I don't want to hear from you. It's been a day. And here we go. And then the day would just get even worse from there. Okay? It wasn't like that all the time. I'm not trying to make it out like every single day was like that. But the noise could be just absolutely draining. You just don't want to hear anything. I'd get in my truck. I wouldn't turn on the radio to drive home. I didn't even like the sound of the exhaust. Just wanted some quiet. That's number 4, folks. The noise. Number 5. Lack of HVAC control. We've all heard that Texas prisons aren't air conditioned. They aren't heated. You're like, oh, well, they don't need air conditioning. They're convicts. They don't need heat. Dude, it ain't just convicts that's in there. I was in there. My partner was in there. All the civilian staff, they're in there. The chaplains, the nurses, the medical corps. Man, the heat that could generate in the buildings is, you can't describe it, okay? I think a lot of people who watch this are familiar with Texas summers. It gets absolutely dreadful. Now, I can't say for Fort Stockton, Midland, El Paso, Dallas. I'm talking about down on the Gulf Coast, down in Beaumont, where the heat and humidity 100%. That's just a normal day. We're good to get 96%. That's a calm day. The heat that would build up in these places was just awful. Those of you who are old enough to remember an attic fan, there was a cutout in your ceiling up here, and it spun. You'd turn it on, and it would spin, and it drew air up from inside the house. It wasn't your conventional ceiling fan that put air down into the rooms. It was designed to draw air out of the house. Okay, it didn't cool anything. It was supposed to pull the hot air and the humidity out. Well, where would it go? Well, it was supposed to go out up through the vent, if the vent worked great. At Styles unit, most of the dorms, that's what these were outfitted with. Now, do you honestly think something of that design is going to do any good in a 3-story, 3-tier concrete building with the sun beating on it all day, with a minimum of 84 human beings with their body heat coming off, plus the CO running around? Do you honestly think it would do any good? No. And then they bring in these fans, the big circle fans with the handle you push. It's got 2 wheels on the other side. It's all metal. When you turn it on, just a loud ass fan noise. Man, all it did was circulate hot air, plus it just made noise on top of noise. You had to get up close to the inmate to hear what they were trying to say. And they do this. They do it on purpose. Try to get you up close. And then if they needed to, if they wanted to, here comes that shank. Here comes that piece of iron. Here comes something. Spit, spittle, whatever. Because you're trying to do your job and just talk to this guy. When we would turn our uniforms in for laundry, I know they did it on purpose. They would starch the fuck out of these uniforms. It looked good. It looked sharp. But the material didn't breathe. It would be like wearing basically the best thing I can compare it to, something that doesn't breathe, a garbage bag. Take a garbage bag, cut a hole in it, throw it over you as a poncho, tie it off, okay? A sauna suit. That's what these starched up uniforms felt like. And once you start sweating in it, you get that starch seeped through the shirt, and it would soak into your skin, and it'd start to get itchy and nasty. But if you showed up to work in a frumpy ass looking uniform, if the supervisor was in the mood to do their job, they'd call you out for having improper uniform. Here's your write-up. Go ahead and sign it. Get that uniform squared away the next day. Roger that. All right. We got nothing else to worry about in the penitentiary. We're short-staffed. People are dying. They're sick, diseased. We're going to worry about what my uniform looks like. Got it. I should have put that one in the supervisor column, but sorry. I'm ranting. I'm getting into it. Having memories. SEG, where I worked, wasn't too terribly bad. Okay. SEG did have air conditioning, but it stops there. We had to wear those thick stab vests. I've already talked about in previous videos the difference between a stab vest and an actual bullet-resistant body armor. They're thick, they're bulky, they don't breathe at all. You would have to unvelcro the sides. You could kind of fan it out a little bit. Usually it didn't do any good. If the AC was out in SEG, which it seemed to go out at least once a week, oh my God. The inmates could strip down to their freaking underwear, and they're good. But I'm in these long sleeves. I already had mine cut to short sleeve. I'm in long sleeve shirts, starched out uniform, the stab vest. Dude, the heat. We would drink. I talked about how me and Campbell, we would make a lap around, and we'd get our Gatorade bottle and slam it, and then fill it up. Wasn't cold. Lukewarm is a good term for it. This water coming out of the sink would be hot. We'd fill up that bottle, slam it again, fill it up, make another round. We'd come back. That was our challenge, our motivation to each other was every round we make, slam another Gatorade bottle. Just force ourselves to stay hydrated. And the sweat would just absolutely pour off of us. You got the board, we're trying to write, and sweat dripping down on it. Man, it looked like I took that thing in the shower and just came out with it. And ink would be running off of it. Old fat ass Jones would be like, Carter, hey, can you try not to sweat so much on the paperwork? Just going to stop right there. Going to stay on topic. All right. In the wintertime, cold. Oh my God, it would be so freaking cold in those buildings. The heat typically didn't work. When it did work, it'd be worse than a summer day. You try to prop the door open to the outside day room, security violation, just to let a little bit of cold air come in, so as we made our rounds, you could get a little bit of a break. Sniff some cold air before you got back in this heat. The hardest part about it was the lack of circulation. Nothing moved this air around. It is just stagnant. So when the AC didn't work, dreadful. I mean, at least outside on a hot summer day, there's going to be some wind blowing, there's some circulation, you can get in a little bit of shade. Man, inside these hot concrete buildings, there was nowhere to go. No relief, no reprieve. Dreadful. The inmates, they were exposed to it 24 hours a day, all the time. They had acclimated. Okay? Yes, it was miserable. Yes, it sucked. Yes, they were still hot and cold. They had acclimated. I would go home in the evenings. All right? You take your 4 days off. What do? Turn on the air conditioner. You turn on the heater. You get used to some actual real climate control. Okay? And then you go back to the unit. Now you got to reacclimate. And it was just a never-ending cycle, never-ending process. You never got used to it. I can't tell you. God, I can't tell you people how many I saw leave the unit after the first couple of days. Sometimes the first day. But the first couple of days. Because of how hot and miserable it would be in there. Smells, if I could do a sixth one, the smells inside this place. What happens to smells when it gets hot? They fester, they rise, and they stink. Hot, sweaty, nasty dudes. Me, hot, sweaty, nasty, starch all stuck on me. Oh yeah, there were some absolute nasty, nasty days there. You get home, take your boots off and socks. Man, socks and feet had become one. You just have to peel the socks off and you could hear it as it peeled off your foot. Man, nothing can really prepare you for it, okay? I've been overseas. I did my time over there 2001 to 2003, okay? Nothing prepares you for the heat and the atmosphere inside that building. It just... You can either deal with it, accept it, make a career out of it, or do what I did. So, folks, I appreciate y'all if y'all made it this far. Shout out to you. Blue Ribbon Award. Top 5 reasons that, not so much reasons, top 5 worst working conditions that I encounter at the Styles unit. Again, happy Monday. Everyone take care of yourselves. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Lots more content to come. Take care.